So, hi there today. I'm Melanie Tucker, owner of Rare Finds Travel, and you've tuned into a series I'm doing. They're like little mini COVID-19 updates from around the world, but don't worry, we're big on good news here. So, what I've done is pick some of my favorite experts who I've had the incredible joy of working with over the last 15, 20 years from around the world and beamed them into you today so that they can tell you a snapshot of what it's really like in these different locations. And then because I'm a big believer in good news, even when things are a little tough, because of that, then we're gonna share a story that they have of something good and hopeful, an act of generosity, something to inspire, that has inspired them, that can inspire us. Because I don't know about you, but I am looking for good news these days especially. So today I have from East Africa, Sara Kearns. Hi, Sara.
Hi, Melanie. Oh,
So,
it's so exciting.
I'm so glad you're here. So Sara, she is not in East Africa right now, but she's been going there for how many years, Sara?
Oh my goodness. I started out there in 1963, and I started working there out of 2009. So,
goodness. Okay, so she's got a deep history there, and she has firsthand, best friend relationships with guides who have been named Guide of the Year in Kenya, and so she's been an incredible asset for me. And how many times have you been? Sara owns a company called Travels with Sara, and how many times have you been over to Africa?
well, since I started the company in 2009, I go 5 or 6 times a year with clients. So there's 50, 60 times just in those years.
Yeah, and sometimes it's more than one set of clients per trip. Sometimes you'll stay for a long period of time.
Right.
Yeah. So you were last there when, Sara?
Well, I was in South Africa. I went when the epidemic or pandemic really sort of made news. And I spent a week. It was wonderful. And I really didn't want to come home. But I had a client with me who needed to come home, and it was her first trip to Africa. It was her first trip out of the country.
Oh my goodness. Initiation by fire.
I can't abandon her in this, somewhat stressful time.
Yeah.
And so we got on the last plane out of South Africa to come home.
Okay. All right. So you were just there, but what countries do you go to in Africa?
I go to Kenya a lot, Tanzania. If you want to see gorillas, I go to Uganda and Rwanda. I love Zimbabwe and Zambia. Botswana is gorgeous. South Africa is also very spectacular. So, there's lots of choices.
It's a candy store. We would say that's a safari candy store.
It's absolutely.
Like chocolate or caramel or
goodies galore. I mean, and each country is different.
Okay, yeah.
Really, truthfully, if you've never been, Kenya's a great starting place.
Yeah, and that's where that's where I had my first trip to East Africa with you.
Right. Tanzania. And that's where we met Lewis, the wonderful guide who's
that's right.
company.
So give us a quick snapshot. I mean, we've all watched way too much news, even if we try to avoid it. So a quick snapshot of what's going on in Kenya these days with the virus, both in Nairobi and also in the little Maasai villages.
Well, Nairobi was quick to react, and they shut the country down really quickly. And they had very few. The first case they had, I think, actually came from someone in Chicago, but it was a Kenyan.
Okay.
She recovered. But since then, they've had more cases, and they really have shut down the country. You can't go in or out of Nairobi. You can't go in or out of your house. I mean, it's really locked down.
Serious. And how did they enforce that?
Well, the police, unfortunately.
I think that's smart.
But the lucky people are those who are living in the camps that are out in the bush.
Oh, yes.
And there, it's like a whole nother world, which is peaceful, quiet, but no clients, no business. So it's tough for them. trying to keep the camps open, or, you know, not let them run down, not let the animals move in. As you know.
Yeah, that'd be funny. You come back and you have the whole herd of elephants there.
Right, there's elephants who want to go into the shambas, the gardens, and pick the lovely green vegetables that are grown for the camps. There's lots of keeping them up.
So, so are the camps closed down because they're not allowed to have visitors, or because they're
not allowed? They're not allowed.
They're not allowed.
Not
Is there a date when they're going to open again?
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, I was curious. I'm not surprised. We don't have dates here either, but
I've heard several stories. One is hopeful for June, but more realistically, November.
Oh my word. Oh, interesting. Okay, so what about in the Maasai villages, in the Masai Mara? What's happening?
Life goes on. They don't have huge bills to pay, and they don't have, you know, they need to survive. And they basically have their own cattle. They milk the cows. If they're hungry, they kill one. So they're basically well equipped to, as long as the disease doesn't get them.
Well, that's good to know. And is there any virus in the Maasai villages?
At the moment, no.
Oh, wow. Good.
That's good. That's good.
Good.
But this thing spreads rather quickly. And I think in the end, we've all got to be patient.
Yeah.
I think in the end, the traveling public will be broken down into basically two groups. And the ones that will be able to go first, you know, maybe it's good, are the older retirees, because they've, you know, not lost a job. They still can do it. As soon as the doors open, I think they'll be the people who want to go. Sadly, the younger generation who've lost jobs are going to have to be much more focused on you know, getting back to work. So
Right.
that the safari business, which heavily relies on the older generation, it does.
No, because it's a bucket list item for many people. So the younger people who go are often honeymooners, occasionally families with.
Right. No, I'm doing a trip at Christmas, and I never go at Christmas. I'm going at Christmas with a family of 16.
Oh my goodness, that'll be such a treat. What a way to spend Christmas.
And they're so excited, but I'm just saying, please hold your, you know, excitement a little bit. We've got to get through, you know, being able to go. And airlines have to not only be going to the countries have to want the airlines in. It's a really complicated, to make this work. It's got to be a lot of pre-planning and
many pieces of the pie come together. But the first thing is the virus. The virus has to run its course and pass. And in the meantime, it feels reassuring to me that in the city that's densely populated is tightly under control. So that's a good sign. And the side villages are not affected. So that's a good sign.
It's a good sign, but it's just, I think, you know, when it comes to when do we get out? When is my key going to be able to get me out of jail?
You get fired from Monopoly. Okay. So we were talking about, you know, in the midst of any crisis, or any hard time, that's always when the cream rises to the top, and it has just been so. I just got goosebumps. Yeah, it's really so encouraging to me when I hear stories of other people being like generous and creative and helpful, and so tell us a story like that from East Africa that you know of or that your guides have told you about.
Well, I think, you know, the world is split into doers and non-doers. I mean, now we've got people who really want to help, really want to make a difference and make this all go away as fast as possible. And then the others that are fearful. And I think once you get to the African continent, they're all wanting it to go away. They all want to do whatever they can to make this work. They don't have that fear factor that we are unfortunately blessed with. We seem, I mean, I have neighbors who won't even come to my front door to Africa. Not a good thing. Others who can't wait to get out, you know, let's go have a picnic outside. Well, if it wasn't raining, we'd do it. But in Africa, I think the overwhelming feeling is for it to get back to work, for it to be dealt with and life back to normal.
Right.
And they
Right,
do.
security established and movement forward. Yeah, I agree. So in my old hometown of Lambertville, there was a woman who did, we called them 6x6x4. So it's 6 people, 6 feet apart at 4 p.m. I think that's a 6x6x4.
Oh.
So it was a way to create community. She was a therapist. No surprise, right? But I think she stopped doing that now, as they're in the very peak in New Jersey. But she did that for almost a month, which was really inspiring. So Howard, tell us the story of like how the people in, say, Nairobi are coping with this lockdown.
Well, I speak every day with one of my guide friends. He's wonderful, Fred. And he says it's getting difficult, but they're coping. They're locked in, locked down. There is no wandering around and having a walk.
Oh, there's none, yeah. Do they have good internet there so that they can do Zooms like this? And
yes, I mean, the internet is probably saving a lot of people's lives. I mean, sanity-wise.
Here and there, interesting.
Right, worldwide. I mean, that's what I do. I wake up in the morning. My business is definitely idling or stalled.
Really? Mine's great.
Well, I mean, you found something to do. And now what do? I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I have WhatsApp chats everywhere.
Yeah, touch base.
Yeah, touch base, my sister, my family. And I think that's maybe going to be one of the overall benefits of people have reached out more than they normally would.
Yeah. And also people who were tentative with technology now are kind of being forced either their work. Either their work is making them use it, or because their family sets up, you know, Zoom chats for Easter Sunday or whatever, or they're doing these Zoom cocktail hours or however. I think a lot of people who were a little more tentative with technology are now like, they're in it because it's their only connection, right? So when the lockdown ends, what's the first thing you're going to do, Sarah? Besides go,
return to Africa.
Yeah.
Then maybe California, maybe.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm going somewhere, that's for sure. As soon as that,
I know, ants and pants. I have the same problem. And a lot of my clients are saying the same thing. Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be Maine. Who knows?
Oh, that would be great. For people who don't know, who have tuned in, so my business was always based in New Jersey, but just past year, not knowing the pandemic was coming, I got a little island in Maine, an island called Mohegan, and I've opened a guest house called the Cracked Mug on this little island 12 miles from shore. Get to it by ferry, full of lobstermen and artists. And I have a guest house opening July 1st. So I opened a guest house in the pandemic.
And did you find the furniture in the house or did you bring it?
No, I brought it in. Actually, some of my furniture, if you can tell, are boxes from Amazon. I use them as tables for now. Yeah, anyway, so as we close, some of the people on the call will have been to East Africa, but a lot of them haven't. So take us there, take like a minute or 2 or 3 and imagine like your favorite place. Like if you could take someone brand new and you had one evening or one day, you could take them anywhere in your country to do one experience, what would it be? So take us there in words.
Well, it's a dream come true for me every time I go. So it never gets boring. It never fails. I hate to promise things because who knows where the lion is that day or where the leopard is hiding or where the elephants are. But I guarantee, you know, if you go to Kenya and you go to one of my favorite camps, I don't know, I've got so many of them, but offbeat safaris, a fabulous, wonderful team. You get up in the morning, they give you a hot cup of coffee or whatever it is you like to drink. You jump in a car, it's cold and chilly, you wrap yourself in a shuka, one of the Maasai blankets, and you set off as the sun's coming up. I'm telling you, if it's a zebra or everyone gets so excited seeing things for the first time. It's like, you can't imagine. I think of Disney World and I think, how do people go there?
Well, it's for some people, but this is for people like you and me and my clients.
Children love it. Grandparents love it. I don't think I've ever taken anybody that wasn't blown away with how beautiful it is, how nice the people are, and how spectacular the scenery is. And then
the vastness.
Yes, it's a canvas, moving, breathing. And then the car will stop and you think, oh, it must be nearly time to go back to camp for breakfast. And you go around a corner and sure enough, there's a complete set for breakfast. Out in the bush, tables, chairs, napkins, glassware, everything.
Oh, that's great.
It just, and you know, it never fails to amaze. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's incredible.
In nature, getting evening time, the sundowners, they choose a really clever place where the sun is going down. They step out of the car and open up a bar, light a fire if you're lucky, bring out the chairs, and you watch the sun go down with your favorite drink.
And all those stars
in the background. Yes, it's like you couldn't pay people to do it. It's like it's magic. It's magic.
It is. You know, that's. I wish we could find a different word, but that just is it. It is. It's just. It's almost surreal. It's incredible that you're placed in this tableau. Is that the word? It's just this scenery.
A living canvas. It's beautiful. And I think anybody who's now sitting at home, getting bored, just stop and think and do some homework, and Travels with Sara would be happy to take you on this magical ride. And it doesn't have to be tomorrow, next week. Just put it in your, whatever, your thinking.
Bonnet, Grandma would say.
Right? And as soon as the world is a safe place to travel in, book your seat, because it's a ride of a lifetime.
I agree, Sara, that's great. And I might add that you might be you're going in December with a family of 12, but one of my most rewarding trips that I sent a client on was a single woman. Well, she was married, but she couldn't go with her husband, and he was turning 70. Her 70th birthday, she went alone to Nairobi and met you.
Oh, yes!
Her. Remember that?
Yeah, what was her name? Yes.
Lee. No, we won't say last names, but Lee, yeah.
Wonderful. And she never will forget it, right?
She'll never forget it. She's still talking about it. In fact, she came back and actually started a foundation. She jumped on this foundation called She's the First. And she started doing annual luncheons to raise money for She's the First. It became this big thing in our town. But anyway, so whether it's a family of 12 or whether you're a single person or anything in between, it all works.
It's the best in you. That's what it does.
It does. It does. Well, Sara, that was great. Thanks for stepping in out of your busy quarantine life this morning.
As I rush to the coffee pot. Watch the cat sleeping.
All right, Sara. So thank you so much. Stay well. And you and I will catch up on the other side.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.